Hi you guys, I'm making this video today to share my own experience of being sexually abused. This happened to me a little over 5 years ago. Anyone who knows me knows it's never been an easy topic for me to talk about. It's never been easy for me to discuss what happened to me, but I'm sharing my story to raise awareness and to let other people know that have been through this that you're not alone. It takes a lot to get over it. You never really do get over it, but you do get better. Anyways, a little over 5 years ago, I danced. Anybody who knew me knows that dance at the time was a passion of mine. I thought it was something that I would do until I went off to college, became an adult, that kind of thing. It was just something that made me happy. My dance teacher and his wife were best friends with my parents at the time, and I was best friends with their kids. So, you never know. And the abuse started with something as small as a peck, and it progressed to him forcing me on multiple occasions to give him oral sex. And he manipulated me into thinking that if I told my parents, that it would end up being my fault in the end. And being 12 years old at the time, I believed him. I thought if I told anybody, then I would be the one that got in trouble for it. Anyways, one day I was about to be going into dance class. I was already there and everything, and I get this call from my dad. And my dad, he sounded angry and, upset, and he said, "These messages on your computer, are they true? You need to tell us." And I didn't know what he was talking about there for a second, and then I realized, and I was like, oh my God. I had told one of my friends on Facebook what was going on, and my mom was printing coupons off on my computer, and she found them. And I tried to play it off, and I freaked, and I deleted all the messages. And anyway, shortly after that, of course, my parents found out it was true. I finally talked to them, and they came and got me, and they took me to the police station. And I remember sitting there for what felt like hours, being asked questions and everything. And I remember them telling me, the detectives and my parents, that it wasn't my fault that this had happened to me, and for that, I felt so relieved, because I thought that I would be the one that got in trouble for it, because that was what I had been being told. Anyway, after that, I started going to counseling, and shortly after that, I found out that I had severe post-traumatic stress disorder. And anybody who knows anything about post-traumatic stress disorder knows that it never goes away. It's something that lives on with you for the rest of your life. I went through over a year of counseling after that, trying to at least learn how to cope with it and be comfortable with, talking about what happened to me, at least slightly, and learning how to cope with having, panicky flashbacks, that kind of stuff. I had nightmares for a while. I went through a stage, during this period that I wanted to die. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I wanted to die. I did not have any friends. I maybe had one friend. All of the rest of my friends left me after this happened. I felt like I was alone. I remember I would sit in my bedroom for hours, not really doing anything, just staring at the four walls. And shortly after I finished my counseling and everything, I felt like I was good. I was doing better. And we moved to Lancaster because of my dad's job. And my mom passed away from a hemorrhagic stroke whenever we got up there, a few months after we moved up there and everything, this happened. And so we moved back to North Carolina, and about a year after my mom passed away, my dad got a call from the district attorney's office telling us that it was time for this to go to trial. 3 years after this happened to me, and we're just now getting a call about it going to trial. That was terrifying. I had already moved on with my life. I had, made this memory like a piece of paper, folded it up, put it into the back of my head, and wanted to forget about it. And I remember, regardless, you know, you gotta go to trial. And a month before trial happened, I started going to counseling again to learn how to cope with, you know, facing him and everything and having to answer all these questions. And it was kind of scary, but at the same time, I felt relieved because I was like, maybe I will finally get justice for this. Maybe I can finally move on with my life. Maybe I can get a job wherever I want to whenever I get to the age. Maybe I can finally not be scared to, you know, go to Walmart by myself and not be risking running into him. So the first day we did it, you know, the jury was picked out. Well, the jury was picked out. And the second day we went in, my dad was examined and he was cross-examined. And I remember going to lunch that day. And, of course, I didn't say anything because you're not supposed to talk to jurors. Juror told me, here, let me move my plate and so you can get some food. And I didn't say anything back. And I can't even remember what the other occasion was with the other juror. But the next morning, well, I was examined that evening. I wasn't cross-examined. But the next morning we went in, we were waiting. One of the people had told that a juror had had contact with me. And, you know, that was partially true, but I never said anything back. And, you know, you got 2 extra jurors anyway. So the first juror came in, she dismissed him. The second juror came in, she dismissed her. And somebody said something on the opposite side. I think it was his attorney. And she said, well, maybe I'll just declare a mistrial. And she slammed down her gavel, she threw off her robe, and she stormed into the back, and she grabbed something. And then she stormed back up to the front, and she pointed to the guy's attorney and said, I'm not doing this for you. Don't think I'm doing it for you, or something along those lines. And then she stormed out the front door. And I didn't know what a mistrial meant until I went upstairs and I learned that it could never go back to trial again. Unless if it happened to somebody else. So, one of the reasons that I am sharing my story with you guys is because I don't want this to happen to somebody else. I don't. Because I don't want anybody to go through the same thing that I went through, because it was a very terrifying and traumatic experience, and it's something I'm going to have to carry on with me for the rest of my life. I feel like not a lot of people are brought justice with this sort of thing. I feel like it's something that's become a normal on a daily in the news. You see multiple people getting sexually abused and raped, and it's not okay. It shouldn't be a normal thing. And you know, it's something that you have to live with for the rest of your life, especially if you get post-traumatic stress disorder, because it just makes it worse. I'm going to tell you something. He's living his life just like nothing ever happened. But for me, I'm scared to go to Walmart by myself. I'm scared to go, you know, to Leland, because he's literally just living his life. A couple of weeks ago, you know, I was in the mall, and he came within 3 feet of me and my father, and there was nothing we could do. It's just like about a month and a half ago, I was in Walmart. I was with my boyfriend, and he literally looked me dead in the face and continued to walk, and I started having a panic attack. Like, that's how little, like, something can trigger you. I remember there for a while after this first happened, with me having post-traumatic stress disorder, I had multiple nightmares. I had nightmares for like 5 months straight after it happened. I mean, so it's not something that goes away, but it's something that you learn how to cope with. And I'm just sharing my story to raise awareness and to let anybody who's ever gone through something like this know you're not alone. And if you need anybody to talk to, I'm here for you. So, this is my story, and thank you guys for watching.